Says I'm live. Yeah, can you see me?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, Kelly McClure, psychic medium. Hi friends, welcome to an introduction to mediumship with Kelly McClure, and we're going to explore whether you think it's real or is it just your imagination. So I'm going to chat for a few minutes while we wait for some people to get on. We're not doing readings tonight. We're just my chair, I think. Oh no, when this goes green. Yeah. Oh, so that's interesting.
People think it's a vortex or a portal.
Oh, that's so cool. Is it my imagination or is it real? That's perfect. Love it. Spirit always works everything out for me perfectly. So we're just going to chat, everybody. Hi there, Tiff. Nice to see you here. Hi, Vicki. Charlene, welcome. Hi, Gidget. Love the name. Helen, nice to see you. Oh, it's so good you guys are coming on. We're just going to chat for a minute, say hello. We're going we're going to explore mediumship and talk about different ways that you can, know if it's real or not. Maybe it is just your imagination. Hi, Heather. Hi, Cindy. Cassandra, nice to see you on. Vicki. Oh my gosh. Now you're piling on. Hi, Eva. Julie, nice to see you. Chantilly, Mary, Diane, hello. Annabelle, nice to see you. Is that my Annabelle? Different last name. Valerie, Suzanne, hello. Hi, Lisa. I'm looking for a couple of people that said they would be here tonight. Okay, so I'm Kelly McClure, and my manager, Lisa, is here over there.
Hi.
She's going to be pretty much watching the feed. I can see it, but I'm not going to be paying a lot of attention to it other than to say hi, you guys. Hi, Diana, Trina, Michelle. Chantilly's new. Welcome. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. This is a fun one to be on, but we're not doing readings tonight, guys. We're going to talk about mediumship, but I'm not doing mediumship. I want to talk about it because a lot of people have a lot of gifts and sensitivities that they want some guidance in. So we're talking about it now with a little introduction because in January, we're going to be doing a class, which is so much fun. And you can explore this at great length and learn all about your gift and all kinds of cool stuff. Hi, Teresa and Anne, Mary, Lynn, Cassidy, Olivia, hi, Michelle. Okay, I think that's Michelle. It's me, Michelle Stevens, right? Okay, hi. Hi, Monique. So I'm just sort of saying hello and letting a few people get on. So this is an introduction to mediumship. I want to reiterate, we're not doing readings. I'm not doing readings unless it helps sort of explain something that I'm talking about or something like that, but no readings in general tonight. We're talking about mediumship and we're talking about other people who might be gifted or sensitive and how you can develop that, how you can tell if it's real or if it's your imagination, how you might want to use your gifts, how you can create the environment with spirit that you want, all kinds of cool, fun stuff. So not just pretty much no readings. Got it? Also, please share if you can. And if you know of other people who might have children who might be gifted, who themselves might be sensitive and open and wonder if they're gifted, especially people wonder if they're gifted, especially young people and children and, well, everybody. But a lot of people wonder what's going on with them if they're experiencing certain things. And we're going to talk about the things that you might be experiencing, like signs of a person who is actually gifted as opposed to somebody who's just using their imagination. So, hi, Brittany. Okay.
Are you stuck?
No, I'm just curious is what she was saying. I saw the word pregnant. Yeah. So did I read for her that she was pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, pretty good with the babies. Not a perfect 100% because I think that children in spirit can change their mind sometimes. So that's my big freaking excuses whenever I'm wrong, it's the spirit's fault. No. Mary, hi, Heather. Hi, nice to see you here. Hi, Norma. Hi, Brandy. So, okay, good. Brandy, I'm glad you're here. I know that you have a son that may be gifted and sees things or senses things. So this is good to know about for the children too. Although the classes are mostly for adults and very mature, maybe teenagers. But yeah, mostly for adults. If we get enough kids and families and parents that are interested in doing a class for children, I really need to be hands-on with children. So that has to be an in-person thing. So that might be a little bit later in the year, hopefully. But if we have enough interested, we can work with that. So welcome, you guys. Again, tonight's no readings. Please share. I won't be following the feed anymore. My manager, Lisa, is going to follow the feed, and you'll see that she'll pick questions on the topics that we're working on. She's not going to pick anybody asking for a reading just because tonight's not about readings, but we do Facebook Live about once a week, and we have all kinds of different wonderful opportunities for readings. So if you're interested in readings only, you can hop onto one of those others on another day. But if you really want to know a little bit about mediumship, and maybe you're experiencing things, maybe your kids are, maybe you have some friends that experience stuff, well, then this is a good opportunity to sort of explore that and what that means. So let me just tell you how this all came about for me, and maybe that'll help answer some of these questions for you or resonate with you. But I saw a kid when I was a spirit. Did you hear what I just said? I saw kids when I was a spirit. And I saw spirits when I was a kid. And they looked like regular people to me. They just looked like living regular people. And it was a very confusing time because I was aware that people thought I was weird by some of the things that I would say or the way that I would act, but I really didn't know why they would say that. I knew they thought I was, but I just didn't know why, because I thought that the spirit energy that I was seeing was real people, living people. So for instance, we used to go to church, and after church, all the parents and everybody would kind of gather and socialize on the lawn in the courtyard. And the kids would sort of run around, check in with their parents, and then run around and play again. And my dad was a very gracious person, and he was always there to introduce people. And when I'd stand there and he'd introduce me to his friends, he would go around the circle introducing himself or me or someone to the circle, but he would skip over people. And I always wondered why he was skipping over certain people, or why certain people ignored other people who were in the room or in the house. My parents would go to bed and they'd turn out all the lights and go to bed, and their friends would still be walking around the house. I talked to kids on the way to school that other people couldn't see or hear. I got in trouble because they would ask me to do things like go and eat the berries on somebody's plants. Then I'd get yelled at and they'd be disappeared. So that kind of stuff happened a lot. I would talk to my parents about people that weren't around. What's that?
I just realized I spelled spiritual wrong on your thing.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Anyone who's truly gifted would never notice that detail. Because that is an earthly detail, and we just bypass all that shit. So don't worry about it. It's perfect. That's a good example. I honestly read that and did not see it.
Okay.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm dyslexic. So a lot of very spiritual, very open, gifted people will have like these disabilities, learning disabilities. So that's a perfect example of that. I don't read words. I remember my parents telling me the more I read, the better speller I would be. Never happened. I read all the time, was not a good speller. My daughter reads massive amounts and reads very quickly, never can spell a single word, because we don't see the letters. We see what the word means, and not like as a picture in our head. So anyways, welcome to Mediumship Introduction. So we want to ask the question and answer the question, is it my imagination or is it real? So a lot of children, like when I saw spirit when I was a kid, I was told it was my imagination. Eventually, most kids, most of us, even, as adults, when we were kids, were told that it was our imagination. We began to believe that because we believe anything an adult says, especially our parents. And so whatever we believe starts to come to pass. It even says so in the Bible. Not that I'm a big Bible person. I'm just saying that it's a spiritual principle. And that once we start really believing it, we start creating that reality. And so it becomes not real to us anymore. We kind of shut it down. Some kids are so open and so advanced in their gifts that they can't shut it down anymore. And my personal belief is that it's happening more and more. The consciousness of the planet is rising. More and more kids are coming in with higher and higher gifts and higher vibration energy, and more sensitive and more open to these different dimensions. So it's a little harder to shut it down that way now, which is why I like to work with kids, because oftentimes they don't have anyone to talk to about it. We're going to talk about that in a moment too. How do you talk to people about it? So a lot of people think as they get older and these gifts start coming back, maybe you spent 10 years, 20 years even, and nothing happened, or you had no sense of anything. And then because of the rise in consciousness on the planet, your gifts might be starting to open, and you're seeing things and sensing things that you can't explain, and you forgot that you ever did see or experience. And maybe you think it's your imagination. And that is probably a blanket experience that so many people have. So they start to dismiss it. I personally think that can cause all kinds of problems. I think that, people start putting themselves on medication and things like that. They start self-medicating. They get actual medication from the doctor, because if they go to the doctor and tell their professionals that they're hearing and seeing things, they may not be believed that it could be real. They might be misdiagnosed with some sort of mental illness. Not that there isn't actual mental illness, because you have to be careful about that too, but not all of it is mental illness. Some of it's just spirit. You might feel things in your body. Some of the most famous mediums, including myself, I was going to say, all those famous mediums.
Well, in Temecula.
Yeah, I'm famous here in Temecula, and really famous in my neighborhood. But like Teresa Caputo, she used to get these panic attacks and these anxiety attacks. Because that was what she felt when she first started sensing spirit around, was that it affects your energy, the electricity in your body, and you start to feel anxious. So, of course, if kids suffer with anxiety and their parents start noticing this, and they start telling their parents they're too anxious and they have a stomach ache and they can't go to school this day or whatever, they have to come home from school because they're feeling panicky. They could be picking up not only on spiritual energy, but all the energy of all the people around them. What was that? That was a little spirit talking.
Is it your phone?
I don't know. Here's my phone if you want to check it. So that could be happening. So it does feel like you're kind of going crazy sometimes, and you want to know if it's your imagination or not. So what I'd like is a little bit of questions or feedback, or if you guys want to ask a question and say, I experienced this and I have been wondering if it's been my imagination or not, and see if we can answer some of those questions. But some of the signs that it's going to be real and not your imagination. First of all, if you are around anyone else who is very spiritual or very gifted, and they're sensing and picking up the same stuff. So for instance, when Lisa and I go to somebody's house and they're experiencing things around their house and they're not sure if it's real or not, it's good to have somebody who's, a credible, confirmed, professional medium to come in. And if they start seeing the same things that you're seeing, that's validation for you. And so oftentimes half our job is just to go and assure somebody you're not crazy, it's real. So getting validation from others about certain things. One of the other cool things that you can do to try to get validation is do what I call an open read, and just sort of write down anything you think you might be picking up. Okay, there's so much to this. This is why we're doing a whole class in January about this topic. There's so much to it, but the way that you do that, what I'm saying, an open read, is that you don't try to investigate spirit with your eyes and necessarily with your ears. It's that you sort of shut those things down, and you with your mind, you go looking around the house, and then, or looking in your environment, and whatever pops in in any way that it pops in, whether you smell something, hear something, see something, or sense something, all the different ways that you can pick up energy, which we're going to go over it in extent in our class. You just write down whatever comes through. Sometimes you can get validation by doing research on the property or the house. Did we have a question or comment?
Yeah, well, I'll show you a few of them.
Okay.
Okay.
Cassidy says, it can be hard to know what's your emotion or what you are picking up on. I'm very sensitive to others' sadness or depressive energies, and I have to sort that out from what's me and what's them. Perfect example. So that, and kids go through that a lot. They think it's themselves when really it might be other energy. One of the things that you can do is work on your own emotional issues so that you feel pretty healed and clear so that you can distinguish these energies. That's one thing you can do. I know that I wouldn't be able to do my job if I hadn't done so much healing emotionally that when I do feel somebody else's emotion, I can feel it without being bothered by it because it's not triggering my own. When it triggers your own emotion, it's like it multiplies. And you know, I still have trouble watching intense suffering like on TV and stuff, but at least I can do my job, because even though I've had a really rough past and it used to trigger my own issues, those are pretty healed. So I can look at my past without pain, but I can use that experience to empathize with other people's.
So I'm going to put Daisy up, and she also sees spirits. And this is, I thought you could relate to this.
Okay. I got high with my friends, and I think everything that I suppressed and ignored just made itself present. So yes, I was having trouble sleeping. That's also another common thing with people who are open and sensitive and gifted, is we have trouble sleeping. So we usually take medication to try to sleep. Well, I didn't want to take drugs, so my daughter offered me a edible and made me high as a kite, but I took it right at sleep time, took my Benadryl, passed out, woke up an hour later with spirit screaming at me in my face, going, Kelly, and all these faces coming at me. And it just, I was like, whoa, like I cannot get high because they will all just, and my friends in high school, you know, when they wanted to party, and I was like 14, 15, and they would try to give me alcohol and I didn't like the taste of it. They would try to get me high to party, and I couldn't explain to them why I couldn't do it. I just was like, I can't talk to you if I'm high, because I can't focus on the conversation because of all these other voices in my head. But I couldn't tell them that. I couldn't tell them I had voices in my head or talk to people that weren't there. It was just really hard to explain, but I definitely can appreciate that. So that's one of the other things, is that people who are gifted often turn to self-medicating to try to manage what their experience is. We're often diagnosed with learning disabilities like ADD, ADHD. The spiritual acronym for ADHD is always dialed into higher dimensions, because you're dealing with so much going on up here that it's hard to focus. And so I'm not saying there isn't an actual thing as ADHD. I'm just offering another perspective on that reality. So if other people can validate it, if you can get validated through research, if you're feeling like somehow in other ways, other than sensing things, you still don't feel like you fit in on Earth, you just feel out of place. If you feel comfortable with the spirit world and you get into sort of a morbid attachment to dead, or talking about the dead, or scary movies about whatever that attachment is, some people think is really weird, but really for gifted people is not that weird. That would indicate that it's probably not your imagination, that you do have an affinity or a connection to the spirit world. When we get into our class, we're going to define signs even further. But yeah, other things like having an overactive imagination, being overly sensitive. Your whole life, people are telling you, you're too sensitive. You need to get a thicker skin. You need that, or whatever. That's a sign that you could be gifted as well. If you see something, or out of the corner of your eye, you see something go by, rather than go investigate it with your eyeballs to see if there's someone, I mean, you should always check out your house. If you see something in the corner of your eye, I'm not going to be irresponsible here, but the way that you can further discover spirit is not by engaging your physical senses to investigate, but by closing your eyes and using your mind to look and see if you sense or can tell if there's a person. Again, write it down. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. Whatever you pick up, write down. If you do that, you might find out that, yes, there used to be a man who lived in this house. He died when he was 90. He loved this house. So yeah, you might find validation that way. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. Yeah. Okay. How do you pronounce that name? Tamashia? That's a great name. How do you communicate back? I can hear them, unsure how to communicate back. Through your thought. You don't have to speak aloud in order to communicate with spirit, because spirit is a consciousness. So you do it with intention. So you think to them with intention. They can't read your mind. They can't invade your privacy without your permission. So your mind is safe. But if you think to them with intention, then they can start to communicate with you. Now, the question is, you're going to wonder, okay, I asked, is there anyone there? And then maybe you hear a lot of things. Maybe you thought you heard something and you weren't sure, or you thought a thought entered. When I say heard, I'm really talking about a thought entering in your head. You might hear it in your mind the way you would remember somebody saying something to you yesterday. If I thought about what my daughter said to me yesterday, it feels in my mind like I'm hearing her voice again, because I'm remembering how she said it and I'm remembering what it sounded like, but I'm not actually hearing it again through my ears. So sometimes spirit sounds like that. And it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong when you're exploring this. So then you'll send them another thought. And especially with loved ones who've passed, if you're wondering about that, you can think to them, see if a thought enters your head, respond to that. At first, it's going to feel like you're having a normal conversation of things that you would say. But if you continue practicing it, you might be talking to your dad or your mom in spirit, and all of a sudden you're having a new conversation. They might actually tell you something that you can verify. They might say, hey, call your sister. She's feeling really sad today. And you call your sister and she's upset about something. So you got to practice those conversations, but it's all in thought. Great question.
Do you want to address this one? Because I think a lot of people who are gifted, kind of like our client we did last week, may think they're all evil, but they're not.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. So Vienna wants to ask, what do you do if you have a bad entity in your home? Okay, so this is a really important teaching in what I teach. I don't believe in bad entities. I believe in fearful or fear-based entities. Now, they may have ill intent for the same reason that any scared kid becomes a bully in school. They're trying to get their power back. So a person or an entity who has ill intent, if you can remove the words bad and good and use love and fear instead, you can begin to we're going to talk a little bit about empowerment. So not only empower yourself so that you can deal with it, because we're all equal in this universe. There's nothing anywhere in this universe that's any stronger than your spirit. Just because your spirit's still in a human body doesn't make it weak. And so your spirit is just as strong. Because one of my questions that I was going to go over was, is it safe to interact with spirit? And it is safe if you feel empowered. I just told a young boy that I was working with yesterday that he shouldn't be messing with things like he made a homemade Ouija board and had an exchange with a spiritual energy in his home. But he said it scared him. And I said, don't do any of that as long as it's scared. The only time it's safe to do it is if it doesn't scare you. It doesn't scare me. I've been working with Ouija boards for 40 years. It doesn't scare me. So I've never had a bad experience with one. But it's your level of consciousness will determine your interaction with spirit. So if you have what you're calling a bad entity in your home, let's take the word bad out of it and not think of it as it's something evil, but something scared or a bully, angry, because that's also fear-based energy. So first of all, you're going to do that. Second of all, You're going to empower yourself, which we talked a little bit about just now, knowing that everybody's equal, knowing that love is the highest, most powerful vibration in the universe. And it takes a little training to work with these entities. So first, you just want to do that. Remove judgment, empower self, and send love, white light out, all the way out throughout your whole house. You notice in school that there's no bully that will pick on somebody who's not afraid of them. Why would they? It doesn't serve them. They want to pick on somebody who they can get to make afraid of them. So they go around school testing everybody out, see who gets afraid of them. So if you're not in fear, they're not going to bother you. They just can't. Okay. Another question? Let's talk a little bit about being empathic. And it's a little different than being empathetic. Empathetic is just, every ordinary person having understanding and having empathy for another human being. If you're an empath and you're empathic, that empathy goes up 100-fold, and you literally get physically affected by other people. So it's not only knowing and having some compassion, it is like you take on their energy. You can feel it. You sometimes don't know how to block it. It can be very intense. It can mess with your own functioning in your own life. Sometimes very empathetic people will drink a lot because that numbs their senses, so they don't feel all that other energy that they can't quite understand or navigate through. I remember one time when I was a kid in class, I sat down and I'm just sitting there like waiting for class to start. And I think I was in like third grade maybe. And this girl comes in, she sits in front of me, and I didn't really pay much attention to her sitting down, but I noticed that as soon as she sat down, I felt a horrible sense of dread and embarrassment. Like, what's embarrassment to the max? Humiliation, embarrassment.
Humiliation, I would think.
Yeah, but there's another one. But anyway, I was so mortified. That's what it was. So mortified. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I just immediately knew it was her, but I felt it as if it was me. And I knew it was her. And I'm like, why is she feeling so bad? I wanted to comfort her, but I didn't know what to say. And then I was drawn to, on the board in front of the classroom, the teacher had posted everybody's name and grade to the test that we took the day before, or whatever. So I suddenly knew that she got an F and her name and her grade were up there in front of the whole class. And so that's the kind of experience I used to have all the time. So that will actually come in great use in working with spirit on the other side, with clients and stuff. If you ever wanted to take this to the point where you want to do it professionally, you need that empathy. You cannot do this work without it. So being an empath is a powerful, it's a superpower. So wish more people had it. Another sign that you might be empathetic or empathic is that other people will tell you your whole life you're too sensitive. Oh, you're just too sensitive. You cry too easily. The feelings of others trigger your own. You start crying because they're crying. But then it becomes, first it was about them, but then it starts bringing up all your stuff.
You gotta read this one.
Yeah. I was driving by a church one time and there was a funeral for a young lady, and I just instantly started crying like that was my family. Once we passed the church, I wasn't sad anymore, but I felt it. Perfect example. You're feeling what everybody at the funeral was feeling. You felt what they were feeling. You weren't just feeling for them. You felt what they felt. That's an empath. And there is a way to manage this energy so that it doesn't trigger your own, and so that you can be of service and send a blessing, but walk away feeling okay and hanging on to your previous mood and being okay. A lot of you empaths out there, if you don't know what to do with it and you're like, why am I feeling all this when I can't go up and talk to those people at the funeral and hug them and help them? Just send prayer and blessing. When we get into other psychic work, we're going to talk about how you can do that if you have premonitions of events and horrible things like plane crashes and stuff that you can't do anything about. You are being called forth to be a light on this planet, to send love and light, and that alone is enough. If that's all you can do, just do that. And sometimes that is all you can do and all you should do. In what we're going to talk about in a little bit is self-care. empaths need tons of self-care. And one of the things that you need to do is balance that empathy with boundaries. So you can't always help everybody. And empaths get into a lot of trouble trying to fix everybody, become people pleasers, become codependent, become fixers, because they're hurting for these other people. So if they can just fix the hurting, then they'll be okay too. And that leads to a lot of just really bad relationship issues and just a lot of self-drain and lack of self-care. And that can get you into big time trouble too. So empaths have to learn to manage their energy by sometimes all you can do is say a prayer and let it go. And that can be done. You can do it.
Are you going to do your little exercise about making the spirit walk out the door?
Yeah. So,
that'll help people, I think.
Totally. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was on my mind earlier and I totally forgot. Okay. So one of the other cool things is that when I first started seeing spirit, it looks to me the same as my imagination. Whenever I say that around a skeptic, they go, well, there it is. It's just your imagination. Okay. Well, if that were true, then let's say, because I'm a clairvoyant, so I see them a lot in my mind. So let's say I see someone standing here. Now, even if I don't look in that direction, I'm going to see them standing there because I can picture the area, the edge of my desk, my wall, my closet there. I can see them in my mind standing there. If it's my imagination and I want to check to see if it's real or not, I should be able to make them in my mind walk out my door of my office, right? My imagination, I should be able to make them crawl across the roof and fly out the window if I wanted to. I got a pretty good imagination, so I can do anything I want. So if I see someone standing there and I'm not sure if it's real or my imagination, I will try to make them walk out the door. If they go and they do anything I want them to do, stand on their head, fly out the window, that's my imagination. If they don't, if I tell them, stay, but I'm going to try to make you go, you do what you want to do. If they don't go and they're still standing there and I can't make them do anything else, that's spirit. Because if it was my imagination, I'd be able to make them do anything I wanted. And a lot of times when I'm doing a reading, especially for someone says, I don't know who that is, I don't know what you're talking about, I will do the acid test. I will try to make them spirit walk away or fly out the window. And if they don't do it, I'll go, this is a real person and we got to figure out who it is. So that's another way you can tell if it's real or not. Okay. What do you feel is the difference between an earthbound spirit, medium?
An earthbound spirit medium.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, gosh, Shannon, that's a great question because it didn't occur to me that there might be people who specialize. I mean, I guess I can because I kind of specialize in what I call the medium realm, which aren't necessarily earthbound spirit, but people, animals. I know people who kind of connect with high level, certain entity guides, angels, and people who connect with low level energies, which a lot of people call all kinds of different things, non-human entities, dark ones, all kinds of stuff. So how do you feel is the difference? It's really up to the medium of what they feel they're picking up on the most. If you're wondering about you, like I can see lots of different realms. I can talk to, now I want to clarify what I believe. And again, everything that I'm sharing with you guys is coming from the realm of my own understanding. Okay. Take it or leave it. I'm not starting a cult here. I'm not telling what you guys should believe, but I'm just telling you from my perspective. Because I believe in free will, I don't believe necessarily in earthbound spirits. I believe in earth-focused spirits. So I believe that's just simply where they're focused right now. It's kind of like and then people say, well, why would they stay in a house or a dungeon or a basement or whatever if they're not bound to it? Well, because being bound to something implies that something else outside of them is forcing them to stay. But since we're equal in this universe, that's actually not possible. But it might be what they're focused on right now because they don't know that they have the power to get out of there. They're not ready. They're in fear. They haven't processed what they need to process. So they're staying on that realm until that gets complete. It's kind of like having a friend in an abusive relationship. They can leave, the door swings open, but they're stuck there until they're ready to go. And spiritually, we're all where we're at until we're ready to move on. So, but a medium will tell you where they specialize. And if you're wondering how you specialize, first of all, I would start out what's the easiest and most comfortable arena for you to explore first. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Okay. Imagination or real? Any more questions about empathy or empaths? You can ask me. So I also want to, that was a phone. Okay. I don't know what that was. It might be someone trying to call Lauren on her computer. Okay. How to talk to somebody about it, or when you should talk to somebody about it. This is kind of a funny story, but it's short. Even after I was renting a room for my brother for a little while when I came back from England, and he's a very conventional man. None of this makes any sense to him. He never explored any of it. But as I started to delve in this work, I started to leave his house for appointments for like an hour, and I'd come back with cash, So after a while of doing this, after leaving his house for my little 1 hour appointments of meeting up with somebody and coming home with cash, he would ask me, he sat me down, he said, I need to talk to you. And he goes, Kelly, what are you doing on these appointments? Now, I had not told my family anything about mediumship or that I was psychic or that I discovered this. So when he asked me this, I just had to laugh because I was like, what do you think I'm doing? And he's like, I'm really concerned about you. If you're desperate for money, you need to let me know. And I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. So I had to tell him because the alternative was even worse. So I said, well, I got to let you know, Willie, I go, the truth is that I see dead people. And he just sat there for a long time. And he goes, what do you mean, like grandma? And I go, yeah, and other people's grandparents and, people and who passed away. And he goes, well, Kelly, we always knew you were weird. Oh, that's another sign, is when people tell you you're weird. But at least, that was the lesser of two evils, I guess, that I was just psychic. So why did we ask that question?
Oh, about telling people.
Telling people. How do you tell people? So I always tell kids who feel that, how do you be authentic without being an outcast in school? And you know what? We are human as well. So we are spirit and we are human. And I tell kids, even Superman had a Clark Kent. So if you want to go to school and be your human self, and you just want to play volleyball, and you just want to play football, and you want to go to math class, and you want to whatever, hang out with your friends and talk about earth-based stuff because that's what they're into, that's not being inauthentic. That's sharing the amount of yourself with somebody that's comfortable for you. And if it's uncomfortable to share this other part of you, then just don't. That's your private part. That's your private business. And you'll be ready to share it when and how it's right for you to do so. I don't think you have to go around shoving this in everybody's face or being ridiculed or arguing about it. It's none of anybody's business until you want it to be. Now, when I started doing it professionally, I really didn't have a choice. And I remember launching my website the very first time and talking to Lisa about it. Like, my God, once it's out there, it's out there. I'm public now. Not really sure I'm going to run for president any day soon. Although now I'm thinking pretty much anyone can. So, but I knew that it would be now who I am and everybody would know it. And I took that leap of faith that, you know what, I'm ready to put my entire self out there and be authentic for the sake of helping as many people as I can, help other people understand it and do the same when they're ready, and to literally be a professional medium and make a living. So I knew I'd have to promote myself. I knew I'd have to go public. People call me crazy. I have very few people calling me crazy or a fraud. The ones that think that just don't seem to enter my orbit. And that's a whole nother thing that we learn in manifesting class, not just mediumship, is that when you raise your vibration and you're at peace with who you are, other people will be more comfortable. And the ones that aren't will just simply not be in your orbit. The only time you're going to attract a lot of ridicule and criticism is when you're not feeling confident about yourself, because this is a law of attraction here. So great question. So the way that you talk about it with others is there's on my other little paper I have, there's a difference between principles and rules and principles and interpretations. So I use basic principles. I really don't go into semantics or details about it. That's why I use words like fear-based entity instead of evil one or demon, or, those labels are different than when I say fear-based entity. That's a concept, and it can encompass anyone's interpretation about that concept. So I use a lot of conceptual words when I talk to somebody about it. I tell them this is my perception and what I believe and how I feel. I don't try to push it on them and make them believe it. If they don't believe it, that's okay. I have no attachment to other people's belief system, and I have no attachment to their attachment to my belief system. So I remember a friend of mine's boyfriend in England trying to talk to me about it, and he felt he was so logical, although there was so much going on with him that I felt that he was limiting his experience. But he was trying to be very logical. And he said, well, you claim that you can do this. He said, prove it. And I simply said, I don't have to, period. I mean, I didn't explain anymore. And he kind of was taken aback, because I think people like him who want you to prove it to them because they're skeptical or perhaps cynical, really feel like at times they are owed an explanation. They're simply not. Nobody's owed an explanation about what you believe. Nobody. I don't care if it's your parents, your children. What you believe is what you believe, and you don't have to explain it to anybody. And you can still be authentic, and you can still learn to be in harmony with others, even though your beliefs are really, really different. You just simply concentrate and focus on the common ground and leave everything else out of the picture. Okay, in our class, we'll go into more of that. Good question. I like the questions. More?
So someone has a question, and a couple of people have kind of piggybacked on her.
Could I just, while you're looking, reiterate, we're not doing readings tonight unless Spirit forces me to, which they don't, because I'm in charge. And please share. And if you know other people who are struggling with this idea that they might have sensitivities and gifts, they have children who've been talking about things, they don't really know how to deal with it, because that's one of the questions that I would like to do is specifically, how do you deal with children that are going through different things? So,
There you go.
Okay, Jesse, what if I'm mostly active in the dream realm? So you're a traveler, possibly. The dream realm is really cool. Spirit can come a lot in the dream realm, because the part of your brain that says that it isn't possible, the analytical, logical part of your brain, is usually sort of more asleep. And so the part of your brain that does imagine and that does picture things and uses ideas and tries to work things out is much more active. So Spirit can come to that part of the brain, because the imagined part of the brain is an open part of the brain. Most of the things that you're imagining, you may not actually be imagining. You might just be open to other realms and ideas that are floating around there in the ethers and the dimensions. So, sometimes I'll look at somebody else's creation of what they imagine. I'll be like, oh my God, they're seeing exactly what I'm seeing in the elemental realm or whatever. So we're both just tapping into a different realm. But in the dream state, since your analytical and logical mind, your no energy is shut down more, your yes energy is opened up more, it's a perfect place to explore. Now, some people get afraid of that, because some of the things that they encounter in the dream realm, their fears and kick up their fears and stuff. And so they feel like they can't control it. But you can absolutely explore that safely and learn to control it. It's a really fun. And if that's your MO, if that's what seems to be, you need to go with what's easiest and most comfortable and fun for you to do. And that's your first avenue to explore. That's a perfect place to explore that.
Another dream question.
Olivia says, how do I know if my dream is trying to tell me something in my current life or if it's just a dream? I got to go with, initially, I'm going to go with your own instinct on this. I think your instincts are going to tell you. And I would say that the way that I would check in with my instincts is there a charge to it? Is it triggering me to have a response? Whether it's fear-based, love-based, happy, sad, whatever, do I have a charge? Or is it just like, wow, that was interesting, and there's no emotional or energetic charge to it? So that would be my first question. And if you're wondering, most people know the answers to their own questions. They just don't trust it, either because it's too painful to look at and to admit, or they don't trust their own instincts because they doubt themselves and don't think they're worthy or whatever. But most people know the answer to their own question. It's not always fun to face it, but you usually do know the answer. So if it triggers something, there's usually some truth there. And if it doesn't, you know how they say that all jokes have some sort of truth? They actually don't. A lot of people will make up a joke because if it were true, it would be funny. But how you know whether there's any truth to it is whether there's a charged response to it. Then it might be true for somebody or not. Okay, great question. So let's talk a little bit about what to do with it if you do feel like you have these gifts. And why do I have these gifts? What am I supposed to do with it? How can it help me? How can it help others? My response to that is to ask you, what do you want? And I ask every kid that. In fact, I don't even work with kids unless they're on board and want to work with me. And the universe, there's a word called desire, and it's made up of two words in Latin meaning desire. And anyone who's studied any Latin language will know that means of, or can sometimes mean from, but of or from. And sire means king, father, or spirit. So it's from the spirit or of the spirit, meaning your own spirit. You know, I believe that your spirit is part of God. So it's really from God to put these desires in your heart. Why? Because that is how spirit tells you where you need to go. So when people ask me, even today I did a reading where someone's asking me, you know, can you tell me which direction I'm supposed to go? No, I can't. Cards can't, spirit can't, nobody can. Because you're supposed to go where you want to go. And spirit will help you get there. So my response to that is, what do you want? Are you comfortable yet in exploring it? Do you want that? If you're not comfortable, then my question would be, if you knew 100% that you were absolutely safe and secure exploring these gifts and tapping into spirit and working with spirit, and nothing could harm you or anyone else that you're working with, if you knew 100% guaranteed that that's the case, would you want to do it then? Because that way you'll know that are you deciding the answer to this question based on fear, or are you deciding because you're just not interested? I would gather that people who really had zero fear around this, there are very few people that have true gifts that would not be interested in using it. So, and the only reason that would be is because you've already done it in past life and you're done with it. So you're at peace with it. I know a really talented medium who has no interest in doing it. She's not afraid of it. She just doesn't want to do it anymore. She's already done it. She wants to move on to something else. So if you have it and you're exploring it and you're interested but scared, then come to our class in January, because that is one of the first things we're going to tackle. If you're not interested in it, you can just simply shut it down and you can just do it at another time. And usually the people who are no longer interested in it, it becomes a natural part of you where you're just sort of always trusting universe, like, you know, you're going to get the great parking spot, you know, this, you know, that, but you're not interested in doing it for a living. You're not afraid of it anymore. You just sort of focused on something else. So it's really sort of benign. But the people who have a charge around it, there's usually some interest. So, gosh, you guys are, I'm going to really, I'm so interested in what you guys are writing that I don't have time to read it all now. Mm-hmm. But is there a way I can go back and read it, right? Okay, good. Because I know I can't wait to read them all.
Were you going to add anything else?
Yes. So,
because there's a couple things I want you to look at.
okay. So what do you want to do with it? Do you want to just explore it for yourself? Are you interested in just connecting with your own spiritual guides to help you guide you through life? Do you want to help others with it? Are you interested in helping people with their energy in their home, or helping people dispel negative energy from their environment or themselves? It depends on what you want. And so what you want is your guide on how you get there. And there's lots of different ways that you can get there. But if you come to my mediumship class or anybody's classes, here's what I would encourage you to take a look at. Are they coming from a place of love rather than fear? And are they telling you what to believe or evoking your own energy from you? I would say that I come from a place of love and light always. At least that's my intention. And I try to be aware of when I'm not and correct it. And two, that I'm not going to tell you how to do it, because I don't want you to do it like me. I want you to do it like you. All my classes are designed to evoke your own natural gifts within yourself. And we'll figure out what you want and how to create that. You have the right to create whatever you want.
Do you want to address anything else before I?
No, that's fine for that.
So this one is interesting, I thought, because I think.
Okay. Heather says, I've had this gift since a young age. When I was a young girl, I was always able to connect with my own family. Yeah, my own family that passed, as well as others. Now that I'm older, I can relate messages to this day to others and their loved ones, but it's hard to connect with my own. Is there a reason? Yeah, I don't know the reason specifically for you, but I can tell you what I think for me. Either I'm sort of not meant to anymore, in that, like with my grandma, I feel her around me the way other non-medium people feel their loved ones around them. They sort of sense it or hope it or smell something, or maybe hear a song on the radio and think about them and all that kind of stuff. But I don't sit there and have a conversation with her, because I don't need to, and she doesn't need to. So there's not a real need for it. The other thing is that I don't, other than those little tests of whether it's my imagination or not, when I read for myself, I do often, especially if I'm doing a card reading for myself, because I can manipulate the hell out of that. Like I can make the cards tell me anything I want them to tell me according to what my little Kelly wants. So it's hard for me to read like that. My dad I hardly ever see him in mediumship. I see him occasionally in a dream. Well, once or twice. I've seen him and sense him around me the way I was explaining people sense their loved ones around, but not on a mediumship level. I don't sit and have a conversation with him, mostly because he's not interested in it. Not that he doesn't want to be around me. That's why I can sense him in other ways, but he's not interested in mediumship. My mom, however, lately, and maybe not so much since I got out of the hospital, maybe that was really what we were working up to. But she used to come to me once a week, at least in dreams. And I feel like I can talk to her anytime I want on a mediumship level. Same with my sister. So there's different reasons for different things. So one of the things I want to explain to you guys about mediumship is the difference between principles and rules. So we kind of tried to dabble in that a little while ago and I got distracted. But principles are a basic, God, how do you even define principles? They're a basic principle that sort of can be interpreted, and it's a basic concept or, way that things operate that can be interpreted in different ways. So I used to think there were certain rules, like maybe one of the reasons that I couldn't connect with someone's mom is because she passed so recently, and people will always ask me, how long do they have to be passed away before you can connect with them? Well, I don't think there's any rule about that. The principle is when they're ready, or when everything lines up and everybody's ready, when it's the highest good for all, since that was my intention. The principle on that is that it's going to be for in line with my intention, or the intention of the highest good for all. That's the principle. The rules, I threw them out the window. I've connected with somebody who died 4 hours ago, 9 days ago, whatever. That's no longer a rule. So some of the questions that you're asking are great questions, but we have to answer them with principle rather than with rules. Let go of the rules. there's no rules. There's only principles like integrity, authenticity, intention, love, light. Do it from love and light. Study under other people who have these same principles that you do. And what?
Empowerment.
And empower. Yes, empowerment's a big one. So do we have any questions about any of that? Okay. My last topic I want to talk about today is it safe to do so? And the very first thing that we talk about in mediumship class, well, first we talk a little bit about responsibility and ethics, but then we get right into empowerment. So here's the basic principle. We barely touched on this earlier, but the principle of empowerment is really important and will help all of you guys sort a lot of this out. So again, I'm not going to give you rules. I'm going to give you this really basic principle that's just kind of a law of the universe. It is just true on every level. And what is true is that, and again, this is coming from my understanding, but I think you'll understand why I think it's true for everybody, is that we are all equal in this universe. This is a universe of equality. And I know that we're not treated as equals. And honestly, we don't always treat everything and everybody as equals. But on a spiritual level, we're all equals in this universe. On any dimension, anywhere, no matter if you're alive, dead, higher level, the difference between an angel and a fear-based entity, a love-based entity and a fear-based entity is the level of awareness that you have of your power and love and equality. So we're equal in two ways. We're equal in power and we're equal in worth. And the difference is some of us know it and some of us doubt it. And the ones that know it are really on a high level frequency and can help a lot of people safely, can really dabble into a lot of realms safely, can really create and do anything they want because they are so empowered that they know their power. Now, the people who do not know their power or feel powerless are simply in fear. It's not that they have less power, it's that they have less awareness of their power. So, and when I talk about power, I'm talking about a creative empowerment. I'm not talking about control and domination. Domination is a fear-based reaction. It is not love-based. Nobody who is truly empowered and truly feels their own worth and equality would ever want to dominate another. The only reason you want to dominate another is because you either feel threatened by them or you need to prove yourself because you're not feeling adequate. So domination is not what I'm talking here. In fact, when we learn to work with fear-based entities, even if they have ill intent, I've got someone I'm working with right now. I'm going to go over there tomorrow. He's just been scratched several times this week by something around him. And I've lost my train of thought there. The reason that I was going to say it will be safe for me to go into that environment and work with that entity because I never get scratched. Sometimes almost to the point where I'm like, gee, I want to get scratched. That's such a phenomenon. Like that's something that you can't even see can scratch you and make you bleed. Like what? That's crazy. But to me, it's really normal. So I'm both human and fascinated by this stuff into like the paranormal thing. I want to see something flying across the room. I want to hear my coat hangers jiggle in the closet. That to me is phenomenal. Like the physical interaction between spirit and this physical world is so phenomenal to me and so interesting and so fun that I want to see more and more and more of it. And I don't get to see nearly the level of it that people who are not mediums get to see or who are afraid of it get to see. Because the minute I enter the room, I go right into all of the principles that I teach, like love and empowerment and connection. And I can talk to these entities on a spiritual level. So I kind of rise out of the physical realm and they communicate with me on a spiritual level. So I don't get to see that level but I want to be scratched and I want to have something go whizzing over my head. And I know I was so fascinated. this past week, I've been staying a few days with my niece, and we were watching a scary movie every night because she's my only person who will watch the scary movies with me. And I just love them. And there's always, she goes, now she's finally getting used to them because there's the same things in every one. Blankets getting pulled off, reflection in the bathroom mirror, behind the shower curtain, bumps and boot, it's same thing, same stuff. All the vents, always something in a vent, And, but I want to see those things for real because I'll just walk up to it and give it a little hug, but I just think it's fascinating. And so it is safe to dabble with spirit when you know your empowerment. And when you don't. So here's what you can do to make sure that you don't go where you shouldn't go. Pray to your guides and angels, whatever it is you believe in, that you feel knows a little bit more about this than you do and can offer some guidance or protection if that's what you need. I don't generally teach protection, I teach empowerment. But if you're not sure about it yet and you believe that there are angels and guides and God or whatever it is, Jesus, whatever your belief system is, say, you know what? Spirit, Lord, God, angels, guides, help me grow my gifts at the level and pace that is safe for me and everyone involved and for the highest good for me and everyone involved. So that's your mantra. You set that intention. In other words, don't give me any more power than I can use in love. And if you say that, bam, you're good. You're not going to be able to do things that you're not ready for yet. So just say that mantra, say that intention, that prayer. Yes, I want to explore, but I want to do it safely and I want to do it for good. So do not let me get into any trouble here and don't let me harm anyone. My first creed is do no harm. Let me give you an example of that. So we're going to delve really in the classes, we're going to delve really deep into responsibility. Because one of the first things I ever did was I went to when I discovered I could do this, like, I got to give everybody a reading. John Edward told me, don't do that. And I went, no, it's too late. I got to do it. Went to this group reading, but they wanted individual readings. So I was giving them little mini individual readings. And the gal who'd set it up was the last one to get a reading that night. And I really wanted to be a great medium. And I really was just attached to her experience, wanting her to have a good reading. And I wasn't seeing anybody. And then finally I saw sort of a dark shadow in the corner and I go, oh, that's somebody she knows. I know it. And so I started kind of making my way over there in my consciousness, walking over there, leaning in, and all these spirits of bright light color came up in front of him and said, no, Kelly, don't go there. He's not ready. And I was so determined, my ego got a hold of me and I forgot all of my principles and I forgot my intention of love and light and to be of service only and to let my spirit guide me. And I pushed them all out of the way. And the minute my energy connected with his, every bit of energy drained out of my body. And I said to the woman, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to fall right here on the floor. And I feel like I'm dying from a drug overdose. And she said, that's exactly what happened a year ago. My friend died right there on the floor from a drug overdose. So even though I was correct, even though I actually did connect with the guy, I didn't get to say much because after that, I was too sick and too drained. My daughter had to drive me home and I was sick for 3 days. So I learned that these spirits that are warning me, don't go there. He's not ready. I should have listened to and backed off and said, I'm sorry that I do see someone there, but I can't connect. And just let it be at that and trusted them, but I didn't. I wanted to be great. You're not doing this out of ego. You're not doing this out of greatness. At least I'm not. And I hope that's your intention too, because that's what's going to keep you safe. So have the ones that know better guide you through this and give you only as much amount of power as you can use in love. And love for everybody. There can be a win-win here, by the way, for everybody. Okay, questions, comments?
Ruth is asking if you can repeat, I think, that mantra that you said.
Yeah. So the mantra that I said is to my spirit guides, please grow my gifts at the level and pace that is safe and for the good of everyone involved, myself, my clients, spirit. So let me repeat that again. Okay, spirit, God, loved ones, angels, guardians, please grow my gifts. Or you can frame it this way, allow my gifts to grow, or allow me to grow my gifts at the level and pace that's safe and for the highest good of everyone involved. And then you can explore. And you'll hear those warnings. They'll block you. If you're trying something really hard and you're not getting it, you're being blocked because you've set the intention not for them not to let you see it until you're ready, or not to let you go there or get there until you're ready. So trust that. Just try something a little less or a little funner or a little different avenue. Don't force it. This is about creating and allowing, certainly not forcing. And that's what I did that night. I forced my way in there, and I learned a big lesson about it. Now I know what John Edward was saying when he said, don't give people's readings. This takes years of study because it's about being responsible. It doesn't take years of study if you have the intention of being responsible and let your spirit guide you. It just takes trusting their guidance and not going anywhere you're not invited. Let it be about allowing and not forcing. This is creative. It's not control.
Okay, so since you brought up the whole dark shadow thing, people are questioning this. Here's a question.
Okay. Wait, so our dark shadow's not ready? That's what I see. They're ready when they're ready, and they're not when they're not. I've talked to lots of dark shadows that will allow me, and I was not blocked. So it's not, again, what you're asking me is that the rule, that if they're dark, they're not ready? No. The principle is that when they're ready, you'll be allowed, and when they're not, you won't. So, and whether you're ready. I mean, probably what they were saying was I wasn't ready either. He wasn't ready and I wasn't ready. But I work with lots of dark energies now, and if they're willing to either one of two things are going to happen. They're either going to go away or they're going to communicate with me. And they're not going to get to stick around and ignore me because or the people that I teach and help empower. Because let's say some of my clients living in a house, they call us, they help, Ghostbusters, come, my house is haunted. There's dark energy here. So off we go, me and Lisa and Lauren go off to the house. And my job is to validate what their experience is. We just did this last week or whatever, where a woman was like, am I crazy or am I really seeing this stuff? Well, she brought in a medium. She did what we first talked about. She got herself validated. I was seeing the same things she was experiencing. And my second one is
her life changed. I mean, she was,
her whole energy shifted.
She was just felt so much.
She went from this to like,
yeah.
I mean, literally her shoulders like dropped.
Yeah.
So because she was so validated and realized she was not crazy. And because if you think you're crazy, then you think it's going to continue, but you can't do anything about it. And that it might get worse. You might end up in an institution. You might, when you think you're crazy, that is one of the worst feelings in the world. And you know what? I really shouldn't use that word. That's a derogatory word, because mental illness is a real thing, and it should be respected and honored, and it should be treated as, there should be no stigma around it. So I shouldn't use that word, and I apologize for that. But if you wonder whether it's real or not, and are you going insane, or are you experiencing something that's real? Well, that's your first step in having some kind of creative control over this thing of like, all right, now what do I do? So we're going to go back and help her with these different entities in her home to either help her, invite them away with love and grace so that they're not there bothering her.
Can you just touch on that real quick?
Yeah.
Someone's asking, she says, I got it. Yes, sometimes I get freaked out and I say out loud, I am not ready, go away. But they are all around all the time and even wake me up. Yeah.
So I have a very different approach on how to get rid of entities, because some people will come in and I rebuke you in the name and damn you back to hell. And they use a fear-based technique to face down or get rid of a fear-based entity. That literally is like fighting fire with fire. You don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. So whenever that expression is so dumb to say you need to fight fire with fire, no, that's stupid. That's doesn't make any sense. You fight fire with water. So you fight fear with love, and you're not even fighting, you're allowing love to come in. So yeah, I go up to a demon and give it a hug, because the first thing is that dark energies are not evil. They're just somewhere on the spectrum lower than you. So when you see them, that just means and they look darker, that means their consciousness is at a level more fear-based than you are in that current moment. If you see light energies, that means their consciousness is on a higher vibration than yours is in that moment. So when you look up and you see angels, they look light and bright. You look down and you see demons, they look dark. But you're somewhere in the middle. Well, guess what that means? If they look up and they see you, they see your light and they want a little piece of that. So they're going to try to come after you and like, oh, I want that. If the angels look down at you, guess what? You look dark. So you are the demon's angel, but you're also the angel's demon. So we're all somewhere on this spectrum, right? So, and this is a metaphor, this up and down. I don't believe in hierarchy, but this is a metaphor about vibration and consciousness. So the question she had was, she sees them all around. Okay,
Yeah.
So.
And she tells, they wake her up and she just saying, I'm not ready to go.
Yeah. So that's setting a boundary, and boundaries are important. And boundaries will work whether they're love-based or fear-based. It's just that when they're fear-based, those things always seem to come back. If there's love-based, progress can be made because you're getting that person a higher level of vibration. Sometimes you can ask the angels to come in and get them and give them help if you're not equipped to help them. Sometimes you can help them. And when you're ready to do this kind of work, the first thing we do is we validate their experience, see if it's real or not. If it is, we empower the homeowner so that they feel safe and secure so that they can begin to create the experience they want in their home. We will connect with the entity, find out what it wants, where it's at, what sort of consciousness it's at, with no judgment. When I speak to them, the way that we do that, there's like 5 different things that you can do to talk to an entity. And it's like ghost therapy. Same thing you would do to a human if you were their therapist. Or when I do my Centaur and I help people begin to express and move energy through their body and release emotion so that they can feel on a higher vibration and feel better and let go of crap. Same thing. First, I offer empathy. I don't care if that spirit killed 100 people in their lifetime. I still need to connect them with no judgment. If I don't have fear, I won't feel judgment. Judgment comes from fear and threat. And if I don't have any fear, I'm not threatened by them. They can't harm me. So I can remove all judgment and go with them like an agape love and just go, okay, I want to hear your story. Tell me about it. And they're like, it's going to come down to, I feel bad that I killed 100 people. Okay, tell me more. How do you feel about that? I'm going to feel it in my body. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'll kind of scream it out, cry it out. I'll let them process their emotion through my body sometimes. Sometimes it's just a matter of understanding and being empathetic to what they're feeling. And sometimes they'll kick up a storm. They don't want to be, it's a trip what can happen. All kinds of different things can happen. But basically, it's the process, because once they've released this negative energy, their vibration raises and they will stop haunting the house, because now they're in a higher vibration. If they may need more, they may need angels, they may be ready to go and find their own loved ones in heaven, whatever it is. But there's a process to this that's always, always effective, and much more effective with love than fear. So, there again, we're not going to get too stuck on rules. These are all principles. There's not one thing I can tell you about a dark energy just because it's dark, it's this or that. It's all different.
You want to talk about, is that it? Do you want to talk about the announcements?
Okay, we have announcements. All right, so the mediumship class is going to start in January. We don't have the dates down yet. I must be getting money because my left palm is itching.
Oh. Hurry,
Somebody's getting money.
My left palm.
All right, money to everybody. Okay, so
6 weeks.
6 weeks course starting in January. We'll post the date soon. It's going to be on Zoom. How many people up to?
I think, how many do you?
10 or 12.
Okay. Or 15.
Yeah, about 15 is max. Okay. And that's a really, really cool course. And not only is the content really great, but you guys bond together in a really cool way that kind of, in a way that you're meeting people just like you who are going through the same things you're going through. You're going to offer each other so much support and ideas and expansion, that just being in the group is expansive. So that's really, really cool, coming up in January. And it'll really delve into everything that we've talked about, to a place where you feel comfortable with it, where you're getting it, where you're actually using this stuff for good, whether it's for yourself, your family, friends, or professionally. And we have a special discount for that you can use tomorrow to book on what we're calling the 11th day of Spirit. So if you book tomorrow, anyone who books tomorrow?
And tomorrow through the 15th, it'll be a special price for the 12 days of Christmas special.
Okay, so if you and that's posted on the website too, is it? Or is it just on Facebook?
No, it's on the website.
Okay, so if you go to my Facebook page, Psychic Medium Kelly McClure, or you go to the website, kellymcclurepsychicmedium.com, you're going to find the 11th day of Christmas special. And if you book between the next 5 days, you're going to get the discount. So that'll explain how to do it and what it is. And we're doing 12 days of Christmas, so it's almost over already. Oh my God, how did that go so fast? So I'm really excited about the mediumship class. I'm really excited to read some of your posts. If you have, if you want to go onto our Facebook page and post your stories and your questions too, this just fascinates me, and other people can read and chime in. I just ask that you do it with respect, love, and light, these principles that I've been talking about. Please, let's not bash anyone, judge anyone, embarrass anyone. If you have something positive you'd like to add, or encouragement you want to add, or some insights you want to share, that's completely welcome and invited. But we're definitely not going to judge anyone. If I see any judgment, I'm really probably going to just block. So, because it's just not a loving space to be in, and that's just not the intention I want to set. So, mediumship is going to be awesome. You guys should all do it. If we find a lot of people wanting to do it, we'll set up a second class, so a second group. So have a wonderful, fabulous week, you guys. I know we're getting into some great holidays. Some people are already celebrating their own holidays. So I just wish everybody happy holidays, whether you can be with family or not. I hope that you can enjoy yours, especially, and know that your loved ones in spirit really look forward to this, because this is the time of the year that we open up more to them. We think about them. We miss them a lot, and they really enjoy being around you in the holiday season. So thank you guys, and have a great night. Bye.